One of our favorite additions to Breath of the Wild was the shrines, and boy did we get a lot of them, as in 120 of them, and just in a game that you only had 4 dungeons or Divine Beast, it was kind of nice that these mini dungeons kind of replaced those.
Now, despite the fact that there were 120 shrines in the game, we actually only ended up ranking 73 of them, and that's because a lot of the shrines are blessings with once you get into the shrine you don't really do anything, or they're tests of strength where it's just combat against a Guardian Scout.
If y'all want to know where those would have placed, we can tell you right now, they wouldn't even be close to our top 10, so
No.
that's really the main reason that we threw them out.
Now, this ranking is going to be a little bit different from some of our other ones because not only are we going to talk about the things we liked about the shrines, we're also going to talk a little bit about our experience going through them, just how we approach them, things like that. So it is a little bit unique from our other rankings.
And behind the scenes, we always like to let you all know this. We actually took our top 25 shrines, and then we applied a point system to get to this top 10.
Now, we've said in many of our videos that we are not experts at pronouncing anything when it comes to Zelda, and these shrine names are no different. So we're going to do the best we can, but you're also probably going to hear us butcher a few of them, and all we can do is laugh.
And definitely have a good time with it.
Exactly.
And as always, these are just our opinions. If you disagree, that's absolutely fine. We kind of expect you to disagree over 73 or 120, however you want to look at it. We expect you to disagree, so leave your ranking in the comments section.
And if you stick around to the end of the video, you'll see our individual rankings where you'll see Hick and I's individual opinions.
This is our Breath of the Wild top 10 shrines.
The paraglider was one of our favorite new additions in Breath of the Wild, so to get to use it in some of these underground shrines like the Shah Warvo shrine with the Path of Hidden Winds really helped boost this shrine up in our ranking.
And we set many times in our rankings. Sometimes we set too much in our rankings, but verticality, we love the verticality of this shrine, just how up and down it is. And then also these small platforms add to that sense of danger of always being able to fall to your death.
Well, the small platforms combined with just the bottomless pit that we have beneath us
Mm-hmm.
really gives us that sense of danger. And we've always been big fans of like win-based dungeons and puzzles in our Zelda games. So to get a lot of that in this shrine, again, was something that really appealed to us.
I really can't describe this very well, but for some weird reason, I like that long ladder. And then that column right there, like it actually took me a long time to figure that out. I kind of thought if I flew around to the other side, I'd like fall to my death.
Now, I liked having the treasure chest way off on the side that I didn't think I was going to get to, but I'm glad I made it safe.
I love the concept of using bomb explosions to solve puzzles here in the Sho Dantu Shrine. And then also we had these catapults that threw bombs up into the air. I mean, that's just fun.
It really is, and just the first part of this shrine wasn't really all that difficult, but sometimes getting the timing down on getting those bombs to explode right at the switch, especially when you're doing it blind the second time.
Yeah, then you can also catapult Link up in the air, which you really don't need to do that, but the option is there, so it's kind of like one of those, why not go ahead and do it?
Exactly.
But the second puzzle, that was a really tough one because up until this time, I didn't actually know that you could use 2 bombs at the same time.
Me neither. Even though they're separate runes, so it makes sense you can use them both at the same time. I had the same problem as you, and that made this such a struggle for me, and I like the idea, though, of using them both.
And I also didn't know that one stays in the net and then the other one doesn't. I believe it's the square one, correct, that flies into the net and the round one goes over. So that was also a little bit difficult, but we finally figured it out.
Anytime a puzzle basically resembles a giant game of Plinko from The Price is Right, then I'm going to be a fan of it, and that's exactly what it seems like we get here in the Sheem Dagozi Shrine.
Now, this wasn't like a difficult shrine by any means, but there was a little add challenge to it. First of all, the platforms, they moved a little bit slower than you thought they would, and then also running back and forth between switches also add to that challenge.
Plus, if you actually get the first ball in there and then you screw up on the second one, they both end up disappearing, which I think is the way it should be. It adds to the challenge.
It's BS, but that's how it should be. Go ahead.
Agreed. But I'm also really like any puzzle that you like look across this chasm and see the entire puzzle against the wall laid out in front of you. I think it's a really cool view.
Now that platform right there that you had the treasure chest on, I didn't even see that platform, so obviously I didn't think to fly down there and even get that. I was actually a big fan of stasis in Breath of the Wild, and we kind of get to use it in a way that we kind of perceive as playing golf. That just becomes a lot of fun, so I really end up liking the Dumba Tog Shrine.
I will say, I'm a little bit better at golf here in Breath of the Wild than I am in real life. As Hick will, I promise he will tell you. But just the combination, like stasis is one of our favorite runes. Just combining that with the sledgehammer all throughout this shrine made it a lot of fun for us.
But it was actually kind of difficult in a way because with stasis, as many people know, if you swing your weapon kind of in just a little bit different direction that you want the object to go, like it'll go flying a completely different direction. So that made this shrine not too difficult, but a little difficult.
And another thing that really appealed to me was how multi-staged this shrine really was. I mean, a lot of them have just 1 or 2 puzzles, but I felt like this shrine had 4 or 5 puzzles built around stasis and the sledgehammer.
Now, how that little barrel right there knocks down a platform, I really don't understand.
Me neither.
I like the whole concept of a platform pushing a switch.
I think I speak for both of us when I say that the Kyo Rug Shrine was one of the most difficult ones we encountered in the game, and one of those that once we actually completed it, we felt so dumb.
You know, it's just really baffling because we always shoot for the stars, and so while we could not figure out this shrine is beyond me, but it was one of those shrines, like I heard a lot of people talking about it, so I knew it was difficult.
And for me, it's just one of those things that it's so different from every other shrine. Like, we didn't have combat, we didn't have obstacles and moving platforms and things like that. It really was just recognizing a pattern and matching it up, and it was just so unique compared to the other shrines in the game.
No, it wasn't recognizing a pattern because that's what we try to do at first. You actually had to count like how many constellations there were, so you're even getting confused right now, but it was just a classic example of overthinking things really in the game. And like I said, it took me forever, and like as you said, it was so simple.
I will say though, it was cool to see all these constellations actually finally get put to use since we'd seen them in all the shrines throughout the game.
As some of you know from our rankings, we will like stuff sometimes based on just how it visually looks, and the Ha-Daha Mar Shrine is a great example of that. It just looks epic.
All I know is I'm glad that you happen to be the one who had to pronounce this shrine.
Yeah, it was a tough one. It was a tough one.
But I'm a big fan of the Cryonis rune, and it's not one we got to use in the shrines as much as I would have liked.
Agreed.
So the fact that it was so important to this shrine is something that really stood out to me.
And the second part of the shrine really made this. I mean, you got this huge waterfall and the puzzle, the orbs, getting down to the hole. And I remember actually when I was playing this, I went down to like the waterfall wall just to kind of look at it, and it looked amazing.
Well, and similar to the moving in parallel puzzle we talked about earlier, I just love being able to look across this chasm and see the entire puzzle in front of you, especially at the end when we've got all the ice blocks in place and we get to see the orb make its way all the way down. It's great to see it all come together like that. The Niaz Yoma Shrine is a perfect example.
That was a Yahtzee.
But it's a perfect example of how two people can approach a shrine in entirely different ways and still both manage to complete it.
Now, Red, I don't like to sit here and say that you're smarter than me, but you went about this shrine a lot smarter than I did.
Hey, First
of all, I didn't even know how to take care of that laser with the rune abilities. I just hadn't learned it at that time. And then with this stupid orb on the platform, instead of using Cryonis, I used the bomb to send it whichever direction it went.
Hey, I mean, it works, right? It got you there.
Eventually it worked.
But to me, once again, I loved the flowing water down the hill. I loved using Cryonis to create these blocks to make sure that you get the ball guided to exactly where you need it to go on the side of this hill.
Now, I took a little different approach. Like right here at the end, you were very smart about it. What I did was use the blocks, and then when we got down to that walkway, I used stasis to like stop the orb and kind of push it towards the hole. So once again, a different way of going about things in the shrine. The one thing I remember about the Hawakoth Shrine is just the addition of gears to it. I don't really remember getting that in many other shrines, if any at all, so it was kind of just a unique concept.
And to me, just in general, the addition of electricity throughout this game, but mostly in this shrine, was just something that really stood out as new and fun that we hadn't gotten to see in many Zelda games before, if any.
Yeah, and then you take that electricity and you kind of can see this walkway with the water right below it. You add electricity, you add water. It creates that dangerous situation that sometimes we come to love.
And then using the magnesis to carry these orbs across some of these platforms, trying to avoid hitting the switches for once or you launch yourself backwards, it was just a neat little challenge.
Now, Ray, I said it made it dangerous. It was very easy to not fall off that walkway, even though you got catapulted back. But anyways, this last puzzle to get the last gear, it wasn't difficult, but like the timing on it was very difficult, but I still had fun with it.
The name of our channel is Two Guys Playing Zelda, so when we see the name of the trial here in the Kam Yatak Shrine, we love power, so we got excited.
Definitely, I mean, anytime you can use that power to like throw balls around, that really came out wrong, but to like open doors, like I just really like that concept.
Well, I just love how many different concepts were really incorporated into this shrine. You see, we had the stasis, then we also use a little bit of fire on the leaves to burn the wooden platform. A little later on in this trial, we'll actually use the motion controls. It's just, there's a lot of stuff brought together into this shrine.
And that seesaw, that got me right there the first time.
Oh,
that was a great trick in a dungeon. Didn't even see it coming, but I love this part. We kind of get to play a little bit of putt-putt, I think, and then we have a ramp, just all little things that are very cool.
You mentioned the seesaws we saw a little bit earlier, but they also brought it back later in this trial, and just, I was a big fan of that concept, and we didn't see it a ton throughout the game, so to get to use it a few times in this shrine was pretty cool.
This lava looks sweet right here in the Shoraha Shrine, and throughout all the shrines we had that bluish tint, and then you add in this blue flame, and it just looks awesome combined with this orange lava.
And just speaking personally, to me this was one of the most difficult shrines in the game, not because it was hard to figure out what to do, but just getting the timing down on some of these puzzles, and also the sheer number of puzzles really made it challenging for me personally.
Going along with that, the sheer number of puzzles, it also made it longer, which I really liked.
Me
and
too.
then we had some guardians in the shrine, but it wasn't too many. It was just the right amount.
Well, that's what I love when we have so many different elements going on here. Like, we get to use magnesis, we get a little bit of combat, we use stasis. It's just, there's a lot going on that adds up to making this our favorite shrine in the game.
And shooting those two torches that were going back and forth, that was actually somewhat more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
and then here at the end, we had this spin move to light all the torches. I just really loved that.
If you check out our individual rankings, you'll see that Hick and I were really just all over the place with this top 10, so much so that we only had one shrine that appeared on both of our top 10 lists.
And what's even more shocking is that shrine was in the exact same spot, number 2, the blue flame. Now, some of you might not think it's that surprising, over 73 shrines, to be all over the place, but Red and I have done so many rankings that we kind of know that we have similar taste.
And that's kind of what I think made this ranking a lot of fun, is that it really showed where we disagree on things. Like for me, for instance, I was a huge fan of the longer shrines that had a lot of puzzles built in.
I was a bigger fan of the apparatus shrines, which was actually completely shocking to me. And I think
too.
what I loved about them was it kind of most of them revolved around getting an orb in a hole. I think I really liked that. It wasn't really about the motion controls because I don't really care for motion controls.
This has been our top 10 shrine ranking.